come animals do certain things? I used to cut up animals in my dad's packing house, so I got to see all these diseases and everything. And what we did was a disease, dis-ease. We're out of vibration. So when we look at it, how do we cure all these things? We have to do the curing. All of us are nothing more than, remember, this spirit having a physical experience, except for our bodies being bombarded from everything and all foods, and even the energy of people around you. If you read the first part of the handbook, it'll tell you that there'll be a lot of splitting in energies, because as you wake up, for some reason, you're going to get so awake you won't be able to tolerate having some people around here because they're so negative. You're going to have to sit in the observer mode of this huge play again that's being played. Now let's add more fun. This is just the beginning of the play. Because there's a group of extraterrestrials that are hoping that we're going to destroy ourselves. Because they want the mineral resources. So it goes on. But that's how the universe works. The group of extraterrestrials that I'm involved in right now, thank heavens, are benevolently involved in it. We're at the focusing energy. Who really wrote these books is at the creational level, not only of this universe, but other ones. Because we are so negative on this planet right now. It's so out of balance, it's affecting their backyard. It's like when we put off a nuclear bomb. That's affecting the whole universe. So it's serious time. Are we going to have any Social Security? It's already gone. So what do? We have to think positive. What are we going to have to create? Commodities. I would suggest getting seeds, something that you can trade, other things that you can sustain. Remember the old days they told you to stock up for food for 5 years and all that? Well, we're right there again at the potential of that happening. And it's not going to hurt you to do that. If you got friends and family away from the big cities, I think that's what you ought to do. Consider getting away, at least have the ability to get away. We're not going to be flying too much longer. You can see that happening all the way around. China just got you buying almost all of the oil production out of Iran. As you know, Iraq is a little, if you probably know, when we started bombing over in Iraq, the Soviets were running the Ramallah oil field. That's 14% of the production. And then Putin also told Bush, who said, we will not take the dollar anymore. You got to come down with gold. Aren't you reading the newspaper? Okay, well, wait 1 second. I got a change in the scenery. Barbara Marciniak wrote a book called Bringers of the Dawn, and in that, her energies were telling her that all we have to do is change our DNA pattern. Now, DNA is on a very physical level, isn't it? So when we're talking about the physical, now we got talking about the non-physical. Because physical can be changed to the DNA. When I was in Central America in the Russian embassy, and I was with the Mafia and the CIA all together. They're all the same. The CIA is crooks in action. They're born liars. I mean, that professional liars is what they do. Anyway, I'm sitting there watching movies of the execution of Kennedy, so I wanted to see who really killed him and all that. I found that out. But I was there. One of the people in the audience, or in the room, was a doctor for Castro. And they were working on the DNA. You're talking about DNA stuff. And they have got to the point now, since the DNA is a product of your mother and your father, or what you are. In other words, that tells you how long you're going to live, approximately, what color your eyes are, and all that. They're able to, if you have kids, they're able to take the DNA out of the children now, spin off the male or the female component, and re-inject it back to you, so you get their life, their longevity. Interesting? Castro's working on this. I got a whole bunch of details. I also, when I was in Washington, D.C., I have a friend of mine who is a medical doctor who always walks around with two people in black suits around them who treats the clones. I want you to think about cloning. If they cloned a sheep, what do you think they've done? Been cloning people since 1939. These are soulless beings. Interesting? It's real simple. Y'all, let me tell you, there's 3 methods. I'll give you a simple method so you can see how to do it. Well, let's talk about it. If I took 2 cells off, the Americans' method is called duplicates, the Russians call theirs robotoids, and there's a new method. There's 8 countries making people. Anyway, if I take 2 cells off of your body, all we do is give them, this is a rough deal, give them an electrical charge, they'll act like a fertilized egg. Well, if you got a fertilized egg, what do we need? In vitro, we can use cows, sheep, or people. So that's what they do. And after about 14 weeks, the fetus starts developing its own blood supply, and at that point they can transfer that into by itself and use a pituitary hormone extract, accelerate the growth of this being. Now the being was used, the original engineering was done for spare parts, so you could have a heart or liver without any rejection. Makes a lot of sense. I even talked to the doctor about that. The problem is, this thing, you're a product of what? Of all the 5 feelings, or the 5 senses that you have up to this point, am I right? So this being doesn't have any of that. But they found out if you went to the hospital and got an encephalogram, that's your memory, your brain memory. They can download it on this being, and now what do we have? A walking, talking duplicate. Now, they put them in front of a television set to program and make sure that it's working, and I'm just telling you that's how the game works. And they do it at Bethesda Hospital. I actually talked to a nurse over there. There's one wing, they call the people the others. I mean, it's real live X-Files. The clones, isn't it prophesied that we're going to have soulless beings in charge of the planet? I know many of our world leaders that are clones. He's a synthetic. I want you to watch George Bush on TV every other week and tell me if it's the same one. Jimmy Carter, just so you know. I know a lot, even some of the world leaders, yes. Synthetic is, remember what we just talked about, when I took this gentleman up and I showed you that he was nothing more than a hologram? You ever been to Disney World? Go into the Haunted Mansion and you see this being in glass that is totally perfect? That's a hologram, right? Well, they've learned how to make a hologram that walks and talks. It only stays together 7 to 10 days. Stress breaks it down. So if there's a lot of stress, that being that they've created will start to fall apart and they have to go replace it. And this is all sci-fi, but this is all, you start researching it. Dr. Beater contacted me. He's in Washington. He's dead now. Yeah, probably. I don't know, but his wife gave me all the data on the different clones. I got papers and papers of them. Another doctor that was in charge, the extraterrestrials shared the information with a doctor down in Albuquerque, and they contacted me because I was publishing all the books exposing the bad guys and all the things that are going on. He contacted me. He says, I got it all. We talked on the phone. I said, I'll fly down on Thursday. I talked to him on Tuesday. On Thursday, they picked him up and put him in a mental institution and gave him and basically electroshock, and he's a vegetable today. Now, well, I told you about 4.5 years ago when I lived here in Vegas, I was contacted by the ETs. I said, look, I've been, like for the last 10 years, I've been publishing books exposing the bad guys, right? You know what the ETs said? What good has that done? It's okay to know all this stuff, but what's the solution? The solution is written in those little books. That's the reason why they're more important. And I give them away. The reason why I give away the handbook, and you probably heard me on Coast to Coast, I gave 35,000 of them away one night. And we're not going to have a planet left unless we do this. That's how serious it is. I know what's good. I said in on the meetings on planning on annihilating all you people. I mean, I sat with the governor of Colorado, and he says, I got my ticket. I said, what ticket? Yeah. He said, I'm sitting in the office with one of the Skull and Bones members. And I'm sitting with the governor, and I said, what ticket? And he said, well. And then we went into the underground facility in Australia. You've heard of that in Pine Gap that the Rockefellers built for 35,000 people? I don't have my ticket. When they're getting ready to go, they got a facility because they know the northern hemisphere is going to have it in spades. So does that mean for you to run to the southern hemisphere? Well, 4 weeks ago, a good friend of mine, Brian O'Leary, The Apollo astronaut has moved to Ecuador. He's in the Valley of Longevity. He says, I know what's coming down. He also knew we never made it to the moon. Another lie. Yes?
I've been going through this for a few years, and some of my questions are, first of all, I don't know how my name ever came up on your database. It's a very curious spot for me. I've read the book that you sent me. I appreciate that. I was a part of some of the groups here quite a few years ago that taught things like spike training and started the community up at Kuski and Kanyai. Most of the instructors...
Bo Greitz.
Yeah.
Bo and I ran around together. I actually helped finance part of his thing.
Yeah, I was an instructor for phase 2 and 3.
Yeah.
What I'm curious about is most of the instructors and the people that have been in that realm have had pretty much of a hardship since all those came around. And you're able to go around, give away books, and do a lot of the same work that we had been doing. And I don't understand how, what kind of immunity did you get that the rest of us that did some of the same work?
I have to go back a long time ago when I remember when I was running around with the guys when I was younger with my dad and stuff. I asked a lot of questions that went out. And the same question is, why am I out here? Why am I alive? Because my CIA buddies, they do two things. They want to know how far along the other side's on. And they also figure that most people aren't going to do anything. They think they've won already.
Well, I understand that, and I'm listening to you saying this, and you're sharing it with all these people, and I don't think some of them might realize how real this is and how much
that's the problem.
A lot of people have gone through and done this.
It's the biggest challenge in the world, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's even Bo. Where's Bo grow? You all know Bo Greitz, the most highly decorated Marine, right? He and I, we ran around lecturing. You know where Bo drew the line with me? Extraterrestrials. Because he walks around with his little Bible. Sure, Bo ran for president. He moved to, him and his wife, they moved to Idaho, but Bo lives right down here right now, Boulder City. He ran for president of the United States. We ran all over the country. I thought, man, we have a chance to change the bad guys up here. But it isn't, they have so much control, they control the voting system. The whole thing is a lie. I don't care if you vote, they rig the votes. We go down here to the casino, what does it say, 97% they pay? They don't, like my brother used to run the Golden Nugget downtown. He said, look, we don't build tall buildings selling hot dogs. That's the way this whole system is run. Since you're dealing in a game of monopoly, using their money, which is nothing but a promise to pay more money, and it's going apart, our monopoly game is falling apart big time. And yes, how serious are we? We're almost at the end where this thing's, you know, people are going to wake up in total shock, and out of the chaos, because that's the only way it's going to work, we'll be able to create something new. You got the book. I don't know how we got your name, but thousands of people are selling these books all over the place.
Well, I'm just curious.
I don't know.
You know, a lot of the people, team members that taught the spike training were spooks, and their life got changed.
Again, they don't, look, I was the head of the CIA, well, Barry will tell you, one of my friends was the head of the CIA for Latin America. He's the biggest crook there is. Seriously. These guys, that's all they do. They learn to see how far along what they do and how they can infiltrate, and that's part of their job. I'm not out there. I made my money. I'm not doing anything. I'm trying to do is share with you because all the money's going to go away. And I'm smarter than the next guy in one way because I got an advance notice. So I'm moving my assets into gold and silver, and it's not paper, it's pure gold and silver. Yes, ma'am.
I've got two questions. Do you know, like, how soon that this will all really be?
It's 9:15. It started at 6. No, the game's already on right now. How quick they they're behind schedule. The Plan 2000 that Jimmy Carter and I said in on the meetings was to get the war started in the Middle East in the year 2000. So we're behind schedule, but remember they have to have this culminated and finished, the fait accompli by the year 2012. And why? The end of the Mayan calendar.